My dear friend, sit with me a while. Let me tell you the story of my life, a life of music, struggle, and unyielding passion. My name is Ludwig van Beethoven, and this is my story, as I lived it. The child of Bonn. I was born on December 16, 1770, in Bonn, a small town nestled along the Rhine River. My father, Johann van Beethoven, was a tenor singer in the court of the Elector of Cologne. He was a man of ambition, but also of great temper. My mother, Maria Magdalena, was his opposite, gentle, kind, and deeply devoted to her family. I was the second of 7 children, though only 3 of us survived into adulthood. Life was not easy, even from the beginning. My father saw talent in me early on. He dreamed of turning me into a prodigy like Mozart, whom he idolized. But his methods were harsh. I remember long nights at the piano, my small hands trembling as he drilled me relentlessly. If I made a mistake, he would shout, sometimes even strike me. Yet, despite his cruelty, I loved music. It was my escape, my refuge. Even as a child, I felt its power, the way it could express what words could not. My mother was my solace. She would sit with me after my father's tirades, her gentle hands wiping away my tears. Ludwig, she would say, music is a gift. Do not let anyone take it from you. Her words stayed with me, even after she passed away when I was just 16. Her death left a void in my heart, one that I would carry with me for the rest of my life. The Apprentice. By the time I was a teenager, I was already working as a court musician in Bonn. I played the viola, the organ, and, of course, the piano. I was also composing my first works, small pieces, but they were mine. I was fortunate to have the support of Count Ferdinand von Waldstein, a nobleman who believed in my talent. He once told me, "You will receive the spirit of Mozart from the hands of Haydn." Those words filled me with hope. In 1792, I moved to Vienna, the city of music. I went to study with Joseph Haydn, the great composer who had been a friend of Mozart. Vienna was everything I had dreamed of, a city alive with music, art, and culture, but it was also a city of challenges. Haydn and I did not always see eye to eye. He was a traditionalist, and I was a rebel, always pushing the boundaries of what music could be. Still, I learned from him, and I grew. The rising star. In Vienna, I quickly made a name for myself as a virtuoso pianist. My improvisations were legendary. People would gather to hear me play, marveling at the way I could take a simple theme and transform it into something extraordinary. My early compositions, like the Pathetique Sonata, were filled with passion and innovation. They were unlike anything the world had heard before. But even as my career flourished, I felt a growing unease. My hearing, which had always been sharp, began to fade. At first, it was subtle, a ringing in my ears, a difficulty hearing high notes. I tried to ignore it, to push it aside. But by my late 20s, it was undeniable. I was going deaf. The Heiligenstadt Testament. In 1802, I wrote a letter to my brothers, known as the Heiligenstadt Testament. I never sent it, but it remains one of the most honest and heartbreaking documents of my life. In it, I confessed my despair. How could I, a musician, live without hearing? I contemplated ending my life, but I could not. Music was my purpose, my reason for being. I wrote, "I will seize fate by the throat, it shall not wholly overcome me." And so, I continued to compose. My deafness deepened, but so did my resolve. I poured my pain, my anger, and my hope into my music. Works like the Eroica Symphony and the Fifth Symphony were born from this period, pieces that defied convention and expressed the full range of human emotion. The Eroica Symphony. The Eroica Symphony, my third symphony and one of my proudest achievements. I composed it during one of the most tumultuous periods of my life. At the time, I was grappling with my worsening deafness and the realization that I might never hear my own music again. But instead of succumbing to despair, I channeled my pain into creation. The Eroica was originally dedicated to Napoleon Bonaparte. I admired him as a champion of liberty and equality, a man who had risen from humble beginnings to reshape the world. But when he declared himself emperor, I was furious. I tore the title page in half and shouted, "Now he, too, will trample on the rights of man." I renamed the Symphony Eroica, Heroic, and dedicated it to the ideal of heroism itself. The Eroica was unlike anything the world had ever heard. It was longer, more complex, and more emotionally charged than any symphony before it. At its premiere, the audience was divided. Some were baffled by its audacity, others were moved to tears. For me, it was a declaration of independence, a statement that I would not be defined by my limitations. The Immortal Beloved. My friend, let me tell you about love. It was a source of both joy and torment for me. I fell in love many times, but my relationships were often complicated by my social status and my growing deafness. There was one woman, however, who captured my heart like no other. I called her my immortal beloved. To this day, her identity remains a mystery. Some say she was Anthony Brentano, a married woman with whom I shared a deep connection. Others believe she was Josephine Brunswick, a noblewoman who inspired some of my most tender compositions. Whoever she was my muse. In 1812, I wrote her a letter, pouring out my soul. "My angel, my everything, my very self," I began. "Even in bed, my thoughts rush to you, my immortal beloved. Be calm, love me, today, yesterday, what tearful longings for you, you, my life, my all, farewell. Oh, go on loving me, never misjudge the most faithful heart of your beloved. Ever thine. Ever mine. Ever ours." But we were never meant to be. Love, like so much in my life, was a fleeting joy, a bittersweet memory. The Fifth Symphony. The Fifth Symphony, perhaps my most famous work, was born from a place of deep struggle. By the time I composed it, my deafness was nearly complete. I could no longer hear the music I was creating, but I could feel it. The opening motif, 3 short notes followed by a long one, is often interpreted as fate knocking at the door. For me, it was a cry of defiance, a refusal to be defeated by my circumstances. The symphony premiered in 1808 on a bitterly cold December night in Vienna. The performance was far from perfect, the orchestra was under-rehearsed, and the hall was freezing, but the music itself was transcendent. The audience was spellbound. They could feel the power, the emotion, the sheer force of will that had gone into its creation. The Ninth Symphony and the Ode to Joy. By the time I composed my Ninth Symphony, I was completely deaf. I could not hear the orchestra, the choir, or the thunderous applause at its premiere in 1824. But I could feel the music in my bones, in my soul. The Ode to Joy, with its message of universal brotherhood, was my gift to the world. It was my way of saying that even in darkness, there is light, even in silence, there is song. The premiere was a triumph. The audience erupted into applause, but I could not hear them. I was standing on the stage, conducting, when one of the soloists gently turned me around. I saw the crowd on their feet, their hands clapping, their faces filled with emotion. Tears streamed down my face. In that moment, I knew that my music had touched them, that it had transcended my deafness and reached their hearts. The final years. My final years were marked by illness and isolation. I lived alone, my mind consumed by new musical ideas. I was working on my 10th symphony when I fell gravely ill. On March 26, 1827, I passed away during a thunderstorm. They say I raised my fist to the sky, as if defying the heavens one last time. My legacy. My friend, I did not live to see the full impact of my work. But my music endures, a testament to the power of the human spirit. I showed the world that even in the face of unimaginable hardship, we can create something beautiful, something eternal. This is my story, my friend. It is a story of struggle and triumph, of love and loss, of silence and sound. I hope it has touched you, that it has given you a glimpse into the heart of a man who lived and died for his art. And that's another chapter from the pages of history, proof that the past is filled with legends, leaders, and visionaries who shaped the world we live in today. But history is far from over. There are still so many incredible stories to uncover. So if you enjoyed this journey through time, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to History's Icons for more legendary tales. Who or what should we explore next? Let me know in the comments. Your idea might be the next great story we bring to life. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next episode of History's Icons, where the past comes to life.